The Department of Truth is an ongoing series written by James Tynion and primarily illustrated by Martin Simmonds. To date, there are 22 issues, collected in 4 volumes. Currently, it looks to be on hiatus, as its last published issue was in November of 2022. And, at the time of this writing, there are no future issues solicited. Which is worth mentioning because the final published issue ends on a game-changing beat. So, it is paused on a cliffhanger, and there doesn't appear to be a continuation quite yet. The overall plot is this. Our entry point character, Cole Turner, is recruited by a secret government organization known as the Department of Truth. This department is run by Lee Harvey Oswald, the historical figure that, arguably, changed the shape of American history with a rifle and a few bullets. Turner is then introduced to the mandate of the department to protect the world from dangerous, potentially catastrophic ideas from taking hold and altering reality. Their rivals are the Black Hats, an organization that spreads misinformation and attempts to influence widespread belief in order to transform the world into their own vision. The series explores many different conspiracy theories, such as the Flat Earth, the Satanic Panic of the 80s, and the existence of such cryptids like Sasquatch and Mothman. Like any conspiracy story, it weaves all of these seemingly unrelated phenomena together to reveal a much larger, complex historical narrative.
On September 11, 1966, Paul McCartney argued with the other members of the Beatles during a session for the album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. McCartney drove off angry and ended up crashing his car, which ended his life. Due to the group's popularity, the remaining members believed the public distress caused by Paul's untimely end would be catastrophic,
So they decided to keep it a secret.
A lookalike, a man named Billy Shears, was hired to become Paul. The band subsequently planted clues in songs and on their album covers to alleviate their guilt over lying to the public concerning Paul's demise.
First of all, let's begin with some very positive elements. The artwork by Martin Simmonds is perfect to elicit a mood and atmosphere of intense paranoia. It's very reminiscent of Bill Sienkiewicz's style circa the late 80s. In particular, it seems to draw inspiration from the Alan Moore and Sienkiewicz collaboration brought to light. Not coincidentally, that piece of work also highlights the American conspiracy to influence and corrupt global politics. Simmonds seems to be able to illustrate nightmare concepts with ease. The woman in red and the star-faced man are perfectly rendered to produce the desired terror. Sometimes the visual narrative seems to rely on full-page, abstract illustrations to communicate an idea, rather than a series of panels to reveal the same idea. But that may be a minor criticism. It works effectively during the very text-heavy, explainy portions of the story. One element I would like to highlight, because it's interpretive, is the lettering by Aditya Bidikar. What's interesting is that dialogue balloons are squarish, with the usual white portions where the letters sit being offset and unaligned. It gives the impression that what the speaker is saying is slightly askew, or what they're saying doesn't line up, so to speak. This may indicate everyone has their version of the truth, and that version doesn't necessarily align with actual truth. Or it's just a nifty, stylish way to do word balloons. Honestly, I'm not sure. If, at the end of the series, the word balloons align to look traditional, I'd be more confident in this interpretation. Right now, it's just a possibility and a neat element that enhances the mood. Tynion does a good job making the overall story easy to follow, despite its many pieces and the complex thread of history weaved throughout. Also, to his credit, he doesn't withhold a lot of information. The information provided by the various characters may be suspect, but Tynion doesn't appear to be cleverly hiding the actual plot, or disguising elements in order to have a big shocking reveal at the end of every story arc. Put another way, events feel organic. There are likely pieces that have yet come into play, but again, they don't feel intentionally withheld.
In 2003, shortly after the release of her successful debut album, Avril Lavigne, who struggled with the sudden public attention and the passing of a relative, succumbed to mental illness and disappeared. Due to her popularity, an actor named Melissa Vandella was hired by the record company to take her place. All subsequent appearances and albums were created by this doppelganger. The disappearance of identifying features, such as moles, and a mysterious photo from 2004 were subtle clues that the singer had been replaced.
With all that said, the premise of the series is difficult to accept. Not the idea there's an entire department dedicated to combating misinformation. That's quite easy to believe. In fact, it wouldn't be surprising if such agencies existed around the world. What's difficult to accept is the idea that misinformation becoming widely accepted becomes reality. That those false beliefs, once they hit a point of saturation, actually transform the world. History literally gets rewritten. The planet literally becomes a flat disk. Beings, such as aliens or Sasquatch, literally pop into existence. Although, on that point, I think the abstract distortions and physical side effects these creatures create are an interesting touch. This also plays into the subtext of the consequences of misinformation. Certainly, there are persistent opinions that many accept as being true, or real, if you will. But to paraphrase Pink Floyd, I got some bad news for you, sunshine. Reality doesn't conform to a majority opinion about something. It conforms to silly things like the laws of physics and other measurable forces, like gravity and electromagnetism. Nature is viciously apathetic about a human being's beliefs about the environment. That's why we build roads or cities, because they don't spontaneously appear in nature to meet our expectations. Granted, this is a work of fiction, and it acknowledges these things happen because of undefined magical forces. While it's heavily grounded in real-world, conspiracy-laden topics, it is still fictional. One has to accept the rules that fictional world defines. That's the unspoken agreement between the reader and the writing. However, this premise is the subtextual foundation used to explore how very loose views, based on highly suspect or non-existent evidence, can alter our perception of reality. In fact, we may be able to get even more granular. It's all about perception and interpretation. It suggests influence is more important than evidence. Belief is stronger than reality.
In April of 2024, drama channels on YouTube began to speculate about the disappearance of Alan Cassavetes, the creator of Strange Brain Parts, a comic book-related channel that surpassed 100,000 subscribers in September of 2023. Some speculate this rise in popularity triggered the influencer's imposter syndrome, causing him to withdraw from public life. Others speculate the creator was actually a live test version of artificial intelligence that was recently taken offline. It's presumed a newer version is being drafted to replace it. Furthermore, it's rumored this new voice will be the narrator of a relaunched Illuminati channel later this year. To this date, Cassavetes' whereabouts are unknown.
Conceptually, the series explores competing ideas and principles. There is the Department of Truth, who attempt to maintain the status quo, and there is the Black Hats, who subvert that control. One can state the Department of Truth is good, because they are protectors, and the Black Hats are bad, because they are destroyers. Or you can take the inverse opinion, and see the Department of Truth as rigid traditionalists who combat the new emerging truths the Black Hats put forth. One is order, the other is chaos. And depending on one's views, one is more preferable than the other. Perhaps unintentionally, the series seems influenced by two other similar works with very similar themes. The Illuminatus Trilogy by Robert Anton Shea and Robert Wilson, and Foucault's Pendulum by Umberto Eco. Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code, which most people are familiar with, is, well, let's call it the easily digestible light version of those two preceding novels. The Illuminatus Trilogy explores the battle between the Discordians and the Illuminati as they attempt to create heaven on earth by bringing about the apocalypse. Foucault's Pendulum is about a group of scholars who create a conspiracy as an intellectual prank, and it ends up being real. Where the Department of Truth differs is the integration of more recent evergreen conspiracy topics, like crisis actors and the flat earth. It also connects the Satanic Panic and Pizzagate together, while suggesting these conspiracies are a recurring historical theme. Also recurring is the Woman in Red, who has been present in some capacity for many centuries. Her origin is quite mysterious, and not enough has been revealed to make any definitive statements about her. Although it is possible she is the harlot of Babylon, an apocalyptic figure mentioned in the Bible's book of Revelations. Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot, who is seated upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and with the wine of whose fornication the dwellers on earth have become drunk. However, the spelling of her name, Babylon, may be the Aleister Crowley interpretation. Symbolically, she is the Earth and represents matter, but the actual physical manifestation is simply an emissary or avatar, and she is the primary consort for the Beast, who is, in very simple terms, the big bad of Revelation. Let's put it this way, the woman in red is a bit of a rabbit hole, especially symbolically. She could represent a variety of things, but within the context of the comic, she could specifically be a timeless entity who helps spread chaos and discord, whose end goal is to bring about the end of the world. Again, in the context of the comic, she may be bringing about the downfall of America, which has been compared to historical fallen empires like Rome or, you guessed it, Babylon. So this public conflict between information, misinformation, and disinformation will, symbolically, bring about the end of the American Empire. Framed another way, it won't be a war with weapons. It will be a war of rhetoric and ideologies. And things are not looking good. In our reality, each conspiracy has their own multiple theories. However, the explanation for the conspiracies that follow are what happened in the comic. So this is a brief, very basic timeline to illustrate how all these major events connect together. At the end of World War II, the United States and Russia stole the secret arcane resources collected by the German government. In America, the Department of Truth is established to study and, if possible, utilize this occult literature. In response, Russia establishes the Ministry of Lies. Thus, a Cold War of information and misinformation begins between these two countries. Arguably, this is the wellspring of all modern conspiracies. This event planted rabbit hole conspiracy theories into the public mind. It also seemed to confirm the existence of powerful groups thriving in the shadows. Lee Harvey Oswald, a CIA operative who has just returned from an infiltration of Russia's Ministry of Lies, is aware of the conspiracy to unalive the president. But it is the woman in red, not Oswald, who does the deed. He is arrested for the crime and then taken away by the Department of Truth to become an agent. It's also learned the Department of Truth endorsed JFK's end, as he was about to dismantle the organization. While reading the occult material in the Department of Truth library, Oswald discovers that belief can transform reality. As a test, he and his partner plant the story of mysterious objects in the sky within the press. This leads to various UFO reports. Due to the ambiguous language used in the news reports, Mothman is accidentally created. Other unrelated cryptids, such as Sasquatch, also emerge. As a test, it's very successful, despite some unintended consequences. The movie director, Stanley Kubrick, fresh from the technical success of 2001: A Space Odyssey, was hired to stage a moon landing. The broadcast of this event was so widely believed, it actually became real. Events were rewritten in real time, and the astronauts literally found themselves on the moon. This confirmed that a major campaign to alter reality was possible. As a young child, future FBI agent Cole Turner was used by the double agent Hawk Harrison to manifest unfounded fears of devil worship. The drawing Turner made of a demonic star-faced man goes viral. Soon thereafter, instances of nefarious schools practicing dark arts becomes widespread. Self-insert time. I'm not entirely sure what the point of this exercise might have been. It's something I may have missed while reading the series. Regardless, even as a child, Cole Turner seems adept at creating a scenario that manifests in reality. Once the Soviet Union crumbled, a new organization, the Black Hats, emerged to take the place of the Russian Ministry of Lies. Cole Turner, now a grown man working for the FBI, attends a Flat Earth conference. There he watches indisputable proof that Stanley Kubrick staged the moon landing. Later, Turner is flown across the world to Antarctica, where he sees an ice wall surrounding the world. This confirms that the world is flat. The oceans are held into place by a massive ice wall. While not explicit, it's reasonable to presume this information overload was the Black Hats' attempt to induct Turner into their ranks. Regardless, Turner is rescued by Ruby, an operative of the Department of Truth. She brings him to Lee Harvey Oswald, the director of that organization. Turner then becomes part of the Department of Truth. This is where the series begins. There are other elements, such as the men in black and black helicopters, weaved throughout the story. Most are somewhat minor but interesting bits of texture, adding to the subtext of a distinctly American history that is subject to manipulation through misinformation.